G'day students, welcome to week 2 of this term. Now it's a couple of weeks before we come back to being in person, so we've got an outcome task this week. The procedure for this week is going to be that today I'm going to talk to you just for a very short period of time about illicit or illegal drugs, and then you guys have got 2 tasks to complete today. They're pretty simple and straightforward tasks based off the information that I give you and not a huge amount of research required. But secondly, we move into Wednesday's class where you will be completing the outcome task. Now, I won't set the due date until later in the week. However, the only day I'm going to give you of class time to complete it is Wednesday's class. And it is research based and it's about choosing illicit drugs and researching about them to provide me with some information that you find. And then into Thursday's class, we start talking about smoking. So that is another form of drug or substance that people can take and use. Just before we get into it, I just wanted to once again show you the sequence of learning and where we're at of this roughly 7 weeks of learning and then an exam. Remember, we have our 3 outcome tasks. So this week, the drugs research task will be completed and that goes towards your S in this subject. So this week, lessons 4, 5, and 6 is all about illicit or illegal drugs and smoking, as we have finished injury and alcohol from last week. Now there's 2 other YouTube videos that I'm asking you to watch today. They're both shorter than 1 minute. So as I say to you, please go and watch these videos. Just pause my video, go to the lesson plan, open it up in a new tab, watch that video, and then come back to this video to guide you through the remainder of that lesson. Let's get started. So remember that the overall topic is about the promotion of health and well-being. Okay, so when we talk about injury, when we talk about alcohol, and today illicit drugs and smoking, the whole idea here is to help continue to promote positive health and well-being by understanding what those negative risk factors are. Now, illicit or illegal use of drugs. When people are taking drugs that have been deemed to be illegal or illicit, remember that little pencil symbol up the top means you should be taking notes now. It can lead to a range of short and long-term effects and issues on health and well-being. Some of these can be internal organ damage and depression, and obviously they would be the long-term effects. Some of the short-term effects can be impairing of judgment, etc. Those people who do choose to experiment with substances during youth are more likely to develop a substance abuse issue later in life, and this can further increase the risk of health conditions. Now, when we talk about experimentation, peer pressure, the want to find out what's going on, there's a range of different issues and reasons as to why somebody might experiment with substances, in particular illicit drugs, like in this chapter here. And a big range of that is about the socio-cultural factors, the friendship groups, and the pressures that that person has on them. I'd like you to just pause my video now and watch this YouTube. There's a link in the lesson plan, and it's going to take you to a very quick 47-second video about how drugs work on the brain. Now that you've come back, let's move on. Now, the effects and impacts of drugs and how people take them, it is often in conjunction with the environment, the duration of use, the amount that's taken, whether it's taken with others or by yourself, whether it's taken on an empty stomach, on a full stomach, whether it's taken with alcohol, etc. But some of the common consequences, depending on how the drug is taken and the environment in which it's taken, could mean that there's some social isolation, meaning that people will neglect their friends, or friends might neglect you if you're partaking in a behavior that they don't feel comfortable with. It can really affect the brain. So mental disorders, poor academic performance is a major one. We talked about alcohol and affecting the brain as the brain continues to develop until that age of 25. And so if any of these illicit drugs are taken and they impair the brain's function, it can also impair the growth and development of the brain as well. Often will lead to unemployment because of inability to keep a stable job, rate of criminal behavior because of that decision making, excuse me, and also the breakdown of families. I'd like for you to watch this second clip now. Again, it's within the lesson plan, and this one here is all about how drugs can potentially affect your life. Cartoon images, all within 28 seconds. Go and watch. Now that we've come back, we need to continue taking these notes and understand that young people can often have some health concerns that are caused by others' harmful drug taking behavior. So this is saying that you might not be taking the drug, but by hanging out with somebody who is, drug-related violence, whether it be at home or in public places, parental and peer substance use, and people driving under the influence of drugs can have a major impact on young people. When we're talking about peer substance use and parental, it can be a huge influence on health concerns such as the social health dimension. Remember that we have 5 dimensions of health and well-being, and social is only one of those 5. And emotionally as well, noticing somebody that you love or care for who is abusing a substance or using an illicit drug can have a major effect on that area or dimension of health. Some of the common substances that youth might choose to use or partake in is marijuana, amphetamines such as ecstasy or meth, cocaine, and heroin. Like most risk-taking behaviors, drugs usually arise from peer group pressure, but also other factors like socioeconomic status, area in which somebody is being brought up and developed, and also it might just be cultural influences as well. If some cultures don't see it as such a major issue, then people might be more inclined to incidentally take these illicit drugs. It's time to get into a little bit of work now after we've finished taking those notes. What I'd like you to do with this task is to look at something that is local to you. It has to be in the Melbourne region, and the closer to you and where you dwell or live is an even better thing to look at here. But I want you to find a youth support service in your area that helps young people with illicit drug problems. Now, this can be looking for advice after one substance abuse case, and it could also be a long-term substance abuse issue. But I want you to try and find something that's local that can provide support to young people in your area. Once you have found by researching on the internet a company or a place where people can go and get this help, I want you to answer these 4 questions. And this doesn't need to be in a large amount of detail, but I want to know who the place is, how they can help you, what support do they offer. Would this be helpful to you at your age in your situation? Would you use this service if you were somebody who required help about drugs? Why or why not? Answering either way. And would you recommend this to a friend if they needed help with illicit drugs? And if the answer is yes or no, I'd like to know why. Once you've completed that task, which shouldn't take you any longer than about 15 minutes to research and answer those 4 questions, I want you to move on to the final task for today. Now, when we say pamphlet, I'm happy for this to be poster, brochure, whatever you feel most comfortable with and find easy to create. But I don't want to know about individual drugs themselves. I don't want to know about the risk factors or any of the issues with one particular drug. Just overall, youth taking drugs. So what I want is, what are the dangers associated with the illicit drug? Don't worry about the of your choice, just overall. I want to know what some short and long-term consequences, and I've already mentioned a few in this video, and the impact that that drug has on the 5 dimensions of health and well-being. So even if you just list all 5 and give me 1 to 2 dot points about each one, that would be a great start for today. As we head into Wednesday's class, then you will be taking that information and you'll be picking one illicit drug and you'll be moving forward on a research task on Wednesday for that. But in terms of today, watch the 3 videos, my one and the 2 other short YouTube clips. Take notes on those and then answer your research for youth help very short, half a page document, and create your pamphlet, brochure, or poster. Good luck, and email me or come on the Zoom if you need any help.